as a leader, you must take responsibility, you must take ownership, even if you didn't do it. You got to figure a way out. And you know what it is? It's finding solutions. It's taking ownership
Yeah.
and finding solutions and being prepared to take a little risk maybe on those solutions. They're not always
Mhm.
cookie cutter, they're not always right. But taking action on something is always better than no action at all.
If you're a breadwinner in your family, you must advance your career. If you're in a toxic environment, you're not moving forward. If your pay hasn't increased 30 to 40% in the last 5 years, you are behind in your earnings. That is a big problem for women who make up 50% of the breadwinners in this country. And you'll win in life by having your soul on fire. Welcome to the Soul Powered Revolution, the essential podcast for high achieving professional women who are done playing small. I'm Coach Mo, ex CEO, ex COO, and creator of the Soul Powered Method that has transformed over 2,200 executive women's careers. Each week, we decode the strategies that actually work for women at the leadership level while keeping your soul intact. Because true power isn't about working harder. It's about leading from your soul. If you're ready to stop dimming your light and claim the success you deserve, you're in the right place. New episodes drop weekly. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join the revolution of women leading from their soul power. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another podcast, Soul Powered Revolution. It's for you. It's for your career. It's for your leadership today. We usually talk about careers, landmines, the self-imposed cages. Today, Coach Stacey and I are talking about 3 things that I'd never do as a leadership coach. And why we wanted to pose it this way is because as coaches, we don't really want you to fall into the same traps that you can fall into on your own. So from time to time, we're going to call you up, not just call you out. We're going to call you up to a higher, better version of you. I'm Coach Mo Fall. I've spent 30 plus years climbing the corporate ladder myself, from nurse all the way up to executive, CEO for a big healthcare group in Miami, and COO for a national healthcare company as my last hurrah. And that was 10 years ago. And since then, I've been coaching professional women how to up-level their careers, because women, we get stuck at certain things, and it is our expertise and our passion in life to help you not miss the rungs and to feel awesome about yourself. I'm joined with Coach Stacey. Stacey, tell us a little bit about yourself if people are new.
Hi, Mo. Thanks for having me back.
Glad to
I
see
am
you.
a former healthcare CEO. I too have had a long career in corporate America. Last was CEO for 14 years for a big surgical group that was bought out by private equity. That was roughly 20. I left there in 2020, or should I say, they left me in 2020. Because of course I did not fit the mold of what they were looking for a private equity firm owning a large physician group. Uh,
Uh-huh.
their look and feel does not look like me.
Mm. Gee, wonder what that could be.
Hmm.
We'll dive into some of that as we sort of poke the leadership bear. You couldn't have done that buyout if you didn't establish yourself with the 3 points that we're going to talk about for leadership. And that
That's
is
right.
not being a yes woman. We're going to talk
Hmm.
about that in detail. Not tolerating victim mentality for yourself, of course,
Right.
and not creating a dependency relationship. I talk about this often, how so many women expect their boss to be the one navigating their career. And if you have a great boss, your career is great. And then your boss leaves, your career craters. That means that you don't have a great career. It means you had a great boss that you were dependent on too much. So you have to own your CEO role for your career. Stacey, there were a couple of hallmarks that you established: authority, credibility, leadership, decision making, to get your group, your healthcare business board of directors, at the table to even entertain a private equity buyout. Could you just talk about why companies do that? Because so many women haven't had the experience that we have had in mergers and
Hmm.
acquisitions. And there's this bias sometimes that it's sort of like the evil capitalism coming and screwing around with a company. But there's real reasons why owners of small companies or owners of businesses want to get bought out and why it's attractive. Could you just lay that out for those
Yeah,
who might not be aware?
sure. Well, every company has their own mission vision on what they want out of it. This was a privately held company. We had significant growth over the time I was there, tripled or quadrupled in growth, and it came to a point where they wanted a business partner and they wanted some accession planning, influx of cash, coming to a certain age of these physicians that maybe
Right.
they were thinking about their retirement and how, frankly, how to monetize what they and we built over the
Yeah.
years. So yeah, I'm going to give them credit. They grew the group before I got there. They got to a certain point, knew they needed someone to take them to the next level. They plateaued. I did that. Like I said, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and then it was time to do it again. So their choice, me involved in the discussion every step of the way. They did not push me out. I was part of it. Without me, they wouldn't have been able to carry it
Mm-mm.
forth. But I
Right.
also knew that that would probably be my demise at a certain point.
Yeah.
But it was something I hadn't done before. I figured I would get a lot of experience, which I did.
Mhm.
And the private equity group that bought us, they happened to be nice guys, smart,
Mhm.
great. I
Mhm.
just didn't fit their mold. So
Right.
for my group, it was succession planning, influx of cash, growing bigger, and wanting to do that with someone else's capital
Right. Right. And
while monetizing their future.
you had 60 owners.
Yeah, we were a little bit less than, we didn't have 60 owners at that time, maybe 40 something, because they were
Okay.
physicians that were not partners. But yeah, no, it was a push. It took 20 months to do,
Mhm.
and really educating people one on one, group setting, like the same
Yeah.
talk track,
Yep.
showing the numbers, working the deal.
Mhm.
And it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. You're sort of a no punches, not pulling any punches. You don't beat around the bush. But you do know how to navigate personalities and humans. Like sometimes I hear from women we speak to that they just want to be themselves, which means that they don't want to spend effort or time navigating communication. And they think that they can just like be transparent and just say what they're thinking and and sort of have this chip. Uh, you certainly didn't lead that way. You led with a compassion, understanding, sophistication, and when you had to punch it up, you did it. But I want to spend a minute or two on this whole idea of being yourself because as we get into a leadership, we have to get more comfortable with who we are, but we also have to remember that we're pouring it into an identity of leading people, a company, making money, hitting targets, outcomes, etc. How did you roll yourself as a leader into a natural, authentic, aligned self without, you know, pissing people off without being too brash? Because you got
Yeah.
some hard edges,
Well,
but
I'm
you
not
didn't
going to say
always
I
use
never
that.
piss people off. I am a straight shooter, as you know. And I think at the end of the day, if you're professional and you build relationships and understand people, then you're on your way to something. Right?
Yeah,
Developing relationships is so important. That doesn't mean you're phony. Right? I
right,
generally enjoy people. I generally am interested in people. So
right.
when you get to know people, they see that side of you, and then they see the side of you that wants to get it done, wants to take things to the finish line, wants to
Mhm.
create something bigger, wants to hold people accountable.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a combination of many,
Mhm.
many, many pieces. Was I always 100% like you were saying? I can't be myself. No, I was pretty much myself, but there were times I had to turn on different parts of my personality.
Yes.
Dealing with, 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 physicians, I have to understand the room and understand the dynamics and understand who I'm actually presenting to and who is my audience and what's important to them.
Right.
Maybe that's not important to me, but to grow a company, I got to know what's important to the shareholders, to the people participating in the business, and make it
Mhm.
part of the business plan. Because the bottom line is you can't please everyone, but
Mhm.
what does please everyone? Success,
Right.
getting
And
stuff done.
that's
That
our right. And
they
that's
may
our
not like 100% of
right.
every piece of you, but results, right?
Yeah. And that's the dramatic difference between being a yes woman, agreeing with clients, team leaders, executive leadership, so
Hmm.
that they feel comfortable. One of the strategies that I used a lot, and I was involved in mergers and acquisitions, typically a little bit further down the pike when it came to actually operating the acquisition for the companies I was an executive for. Asking questions is a much better approach than agreeing with things.
Hmm.
And sometimes I think women have such peacekeeper personality traits that they're like, "Ooh, I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. I want everyone to get along. This should be a place where we don't get too uncomfortable." Being a yes woman sounds like you don't have your own thoughts about things. It can sound like you're sort of a shell of a person. And as leaders, we need to give tough love, face our own blind spots, face our bad habits. I mean, it is short term comfortable to just agree with people, although when you're fully aligned with your power, that is not comfortable. I can remember a time where I knew that I couldn't just be a yes woman and I needed to dig deeper into what was going on with this particular acquisition that I'm thinking of. And even though my company bought this entity, there were a lot of blemishes on the deal. And I had to figure out how to operationalize it. So I couldn't be a yes woman because I wasn't then going to find out the nooks and crannies I needed to solve in order to help the acquisition hit the targets for profitability, et cetera. So to me, one of the antidotes of not agreeing with people is to ask questions
Hmm.
and to even elicit their opinions about certain things. Hey, we've got this shortfall over the last couple of months that we didn't plan for. Hey, guys, and usually they were when I was acquiring physician groups, what's the approach that we should take that is what has worked for you in the past? So that it's shared collaboration of decision making. What are some of the things that you've done in the past to call out things that need to be called out, but not being a yes person and not playing too comfortably?
Hmm. Well, what I tried to do was develop relationships enough so I could, excuse me, draw some conclusions about people ahead of time. So I
Okay.
usually knew my audience pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. I took the time in my career, not just in this last job, but every job, to know who my audience is.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when things were controversial, getting take and input maybe before the loud noise of the controversy. So
Mm-hmm.
I myself are better equipped for what's coming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So more transparency for me maybe ahead so I know the landmines I'm stepping into. That has worked with me my whole career. And that is really figuring out the next step before the step.
Playing chess, as we always say
Yeah.
to our clients. And
Yeah.
it's really three-dimensional chess because you're thinking about that from a financial perspective. You're thinking about it from an operational perspective on how it's going to affect your team operationally, and you're thinking about it from a strategic perspective of how is this going to move the needle or cause a domino fall in the wrong direction. So keeping all of those things in mind and being able to ask the right questions and navigate and get people's opinions about things helps you not necessarily just be a yes woman, but to find out strategic decision making and coming together. One of the
Hmm.
things that you did such a great job with your entire career is managing your board. And every leader has bosses or boss. And when you report directly to the board as CEO, you've got a lot of bosses at the same time with different personalities, different sensibilities. And you managed that through 14 years of sometimes very uncertain environments, including navigating them through the first 9, 10 months of COVID. Um, when we talk about being a leader, oftentimes it's easy to couch things that aren't going well with either sort of saying, well, I don't have the right support, or the economy, or my team doesn't listen, or I can't get this person on board. Coming from a victim mentality can sometimes be a really, really bad habit. And as a leadership coach, I'd never tolerate my clients having a victim mentality. You managed to report to your board quite well, navigating difficulties. How did you do it without blaming external forces? Sort of
Yeah.
given bad news, but at the same time
Well,
taking
never
responsibility.
blame others, right? It, as a leader, it's always your responsibility. So,
Yeah,
finger pointing to someone else does nobody any good ever.
yeah,
So, as a leader, you must take responsibility, you must take ownership, even if you didn't do it. You got to figure a way out. And you know what it is? It's finding solutions, it's taking ownership
yeah.
and finding solutions and being prepared to take a little risk maybe on those solutions. They're not always
Mhm,
cookie cutter, they're not always right. But taking action on something is always better than no action at all.
mhm.
So
I
I would say that that is a main thing for me is taking responsibility as a leader. I was the CEO. I don't care
mhm,
if the CFO did whatever. I'm the CEO. I still had to manage that. So never come into a meeting pointing
yeah,
fingers and always coming in with a solution. And when you do that over and over, it's just natural for you to always do that. And that's what leaders do.
right.
Good leaders do.
Let's talk about a client we shared a few years ago. She was working for a startup that had just gone public, and there were some legacy players still in the executive leadership team. And let's just say they had made some bad decisions, bad mistakes, chosen some vendors that were not the right vendors, and she had to clean up a lot of the mess. And I remember coaching her. You were coaching her in the executive circle. I was coaching her in our leadership group and helping her navigate that. It was super easy for her to think that she should be pointing fingers and blaming, although that would have never gotten her anywhere. We had to help her sort of dismantle the excuses and build uh, ownership of the solutions, like you just said, but at the same time, navigate her human tendency to want to just sort of be blaming or complaining a little bit too much. And that can be a real poison if you don't watch yourself. I don't know if you remember who I'm talking about. Um, but I remember helping her navigate her power so that she was coming through these situations rather than tripping over landmines and being the naysayer. Um, we really helped her not be a victim of those circumstances. And also, it was super easy for her to maybe take the side of they're the people who started the company, and here I am coming in afterwards and having to clean up after them. Boo
Hmm.
hoo, look how rough my life is. As a coach, you helped her dismantle those excuses and build true ownership muscles so that she could be the executive she wanted to be. Can you sort of break down some of that a little bit more to help that how you helped her not take in that victim mentality as a leader?
That she already had. So it was about shifting her own positioning
Yes.
and her own outlook. And a lot of that, I mean, frankly, some of that is embedded in who you are, um, your whole life. And anyone leaving an organization, the example you were saying that so and so created the organization, basically I inherited these problems. So that is a common theme. Anyone who leaves an organization, someone else coming in the seat, they're going to see things that others didn't see. That's just
Right.
natural.
Yep.
So again, I'm going to go back to, it's what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Just like I don't point fingers, it doesn't matter who did it. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to change perceptions? What
Right.
would you do? And when you get good at that, it's really subtle wording in the way you think about things
Mm-hmm.
that just becomes part of who you are, and that takes time. So it's shifting beliefs.
Right.
And as
Right.
a leader, you got to shift some beliefs. You
Yes.
got to shift the belief that that's not my personality, that's not who I am, because that's not true. You're growing in your career because you want to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got to show up in certain ways to develop yourself, to get bigger, to see things differently, to come at a different angle, that's what you got to do. It's not linear.
That is for sure. And I remember helping her navigate. First of all, we helped her land the best job she ever had, and we encouraged her to negotiate even more than what she got. Which her offer was fantastic. And I remember helping her navigate the identity of that. They expect you to ask for more at the level that you're coming in at.
Hmm.
She really, really grew her muscles on being a leader, being her own independent operator at the executive leadership team, and being able to call forward bosses, peers, colleagues across the organization and bring in really great talent. Um, One of the things I'm proud of as a coach, and I think you share this as well, is helping our clients become their own CEO mentality of their career and leadership, and creating a truly empowered human being instead of a dependency on having to keep coming back, equipping leaders with tools, their mindsets, a powerful soul, and habits that they can execute as a leader over and over again.
Over
Um,
and over. Just like we had a client today who, in our private Facebook group for clients who have been in our program, when she was with us, she got this great job. I think
Great
she's
job.
been there maybe 3 years.
Yep.
And she posted that her position was being eliminated. And I said to her, "Did you get a severance?" And she said, "Oh, yes. And what they offered me, I countered." In other words, she
Yep.
always remembered the
Yes.
negotiation that
Yes.
we covered
Yep.
in the 12 week.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she was super proud of posting that
Yes.
today.
Yes. Yes. And how she's going to sort of take time but bounce back more powerfully. Um,
Yeah,
Not
because
having
she
a
now
victim
looks at
mentality.
things as an opportunity rather
Right.
than the fear brain kicking in.
Yeah. Which she was when she came to us in the original,
Yeah, that's
where
what. Yeah.
she, yeah.
A lot of
So
a lot of people are in fear brain. That is what it's
that
about.
is
Yeah.
exactly, that's why we help them and that's why they come to us.
Hmm.
Um, and she was a pretty high level leader in the organization that she was in. It was on a huge growth curve for the years that she was there. And she's in a really tight niche. So I'm really excited for what's next for her and her stepping up to the next level. She also, this particular client, her marriage got better, relationship with her
Hmm.
kids got better. Just everything gets better when you get better. People, listen to this. You get better, everything in your life gets better. Um, we want to talk a little bit about um, the difference between coaching and enabling, just for a second here, Stacey, because a lot of people listening to this may not know what coaching really is, and they might think of it as like therapy, or they just may not understand it. Um,
Hmm.
you've had a ton of success coaching our executives, coaching in the Leadership Academy with me, and coaching in our 12-week Soul Power Career Coaching. Um, when we empower a woman to feel stronger for herself, and think for herself and take action and do things that are scary and uncomfortable, we really see her grow. You've done so many great jobs with so many women. Does one come in mind just to sort of explain and highlight uh, what coaching really is all about?
Well, first, let me say it is not a cookie cutter
That's
because
true.
all of our clients come in, even though our back and let's call it module slash workbook is follow this step to this step to this step. But as coaches, we are not cutter. And what we do is step up to their needs. I have clients coming in and they're like in such a trauma pattern from past relationships with boss or losing their job or something even 5 years ago that's still burning under
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then I have clients coming in, let's get interviewing, right? That so what coaching is not is cookie cutter.
That's true.
And while I don't know the word you use, maybe codependency might have been your word. While I don't do that, I do meet them where they are and share tools and techniques at the time that they are ready to receive that tool and technique.
Yes.
And
Right.
I think the intuitive thatness of that is really so important. And it's really
Yeah.
showing them how to lean in to themselves and lean into the coaching. And you know what? I had a 12-week call with someone today, and what she told me is in the group coaching calls that we do
Hmm.
on our Tuesday and Thursday groups, she always felt alone before joining the 12-week program.
Yes.
And why she loved those calls so much is she never felt alone. And
Yeah.
she felt what each woman being coached felt. And it was always relatable. She always picked up a nugget. And she never thought that that was going to do that for her.
Yeah, it's a real strong bias a lot of our clients have coming into a group setting. I don't think I can talk about stuff. I don't think I'm going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Some women even say, I don't really like hanging out with other women. I've never had positive
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
relationships with other women at work. And it can be a complete 180 because the not feeling alone and creating a place of safety really helps women open up and be vulnerable to the level that it's going to help them. It's going to
Yeah.
help them
In
grow and
addition
heal.
to getting the one-on-one in the private setting, which
Exactly.
we do both.
Yes.
Um, so there's no cookie cutter way to do
Yeah.
coaching. It's, figuring out where your client is at and moving them through the process where they can get it and get value.
Yep. Exactly. I'm going to give a prompt for everyone listening. So hopefully you've made it this far in this conversation. Hopefully it's been interesting and you've taken notes and there's some go-tos that we've given you. I want to give you listeners a prompt. Think about the last time you agreed with a decision at work that didn't sit right with you and really do internal reflection on why did you stay silent? How might you approach a similar situation differently in the future? And perhaps identify one person where you can practice speaking up and if you had a do-over, what you could have said in that situation to be proactive, solution oriented, rather than either not speaking up or sort of passively agreeing. Really find out what it was that stopped you and learn to express that and come forward. And I know that that might be something that might be hard to do, but I'm just suggesting that you practice it with a friend, a partner, spouse, whatever, someone who's not threatening to you, just so that you can redo it in your real life. Perhaps not ready to do it at work yet, whichever way you want to go. If you really want to dive into becoming a better professional woman, come talk to us. We have the answers. Whether it's a current role that you're not advancing or being seen or perhaps not navigating well, we've had plenty of women come to us after they land a new job and they're like, oh crap, I can't repeat the sins of the past. I need something new and different. We're happy to help you. Our 12-week program will help you. If you've recently lost your job or you think you might lose your job, come to us. sooner rather than later. The women who wait too long, we have to dig out of a black hole, and we're well equipped to do it, but we'd rather get you fresh and before the real scar tissue develops. If you're in a toxic environment, you're not moving forward. If your pay hasn't increased 30 to 40% in the last 5 years, you are behind in your earnings. That is a big problem for women who make up 50% of the breadwinners in this country. And I am serious. If you're a breadwinner in your family, you must advance your career. You must take it seriously, and you must understand that not only your family's future, but your future is at stake. If you are leaving money on the table every single day, week, month, and year, take it seriously. Most of our clients get between a $30,000 and $60,000 increase. We can't guarantee results, but this is what we do. If you multiply that over 5 to 10 years, that's between $150,000 and $300,000. Or if it's 10 years, we're talking almost close to $1 million in extra earnings. So could you please take this seriously for yourself and your family? Up-leveling your career is something that your soul wants, and is something your pocketbook, your bank account, and your future want. We're here to help you. mofall.com/talk. Get you with one of our coaches so we can help you identify what's really not working and whether we can help you reinvent your career and have a wonderful, wonderful life. Stacey, I'm loving the celebrations that we've been having with our clients. We've been having great results. For most amateurs, this job market looks like a crazy circus, and we know how to navigate it and how to help women cut through, like we're the icebreaker ship in the Arctic. And it's always great having a conversation with you and inspiring our audience. Thank you very much for joining me today and sharing your wisdom. It's always a lot of fun.
Yep. Have a great day, Mo.
All right. See you, everyone. Coach Mo, mofall.com/talk to get things started for your career reinvention. It's only happening through your soul power. Everything that women face in the corporate world, in life actually, can be counterattacked, counteropposed by a woman's powerful internal sense of being. And I call that your soul power. I want to help more women understand their soul power, and I want to create a soul-powered revolution. This is Coach Mo, mofall.com.